Good afternoon. Today is June 9th, 2021. This is recording number 217, entitled, You Are Always on My Mind. You are always on my mind. Right off, I know that if you listen to music, anything, you immediately think of the song, You Are Always on My Mind. And that's a good thing. But what happens is when we start to pursue the love of God, we find out that in order to arrive at a place that we expect to get to, we have to keep certain principles on our mind at all times, certain things. As with anything, if you're going to put together something you bought, you have to look at the instructions, and you have to keep those instructions foremost. Sometimes it looks as though a piece may fit here, and you'll fit it there, and then you'll come up a piece short and find out that it's in the wrong place. You have to go back. So what we have to do is realize that God is something that must be kept at all times on our minds. And you say, but why? Because if you don't, you're liable to go off to your own thought. You're liable to go off and make your own decision. And you say, well, how long do I have to do this? Well, you have to do it until you gain the finished product. And the finished product is I and my Father are one. I am the temple of God. And God wants me to know him, to love him, to be with him, and to honor him, and to have no fears. Our theme is Psalm 119, verse 97. Oh, how love I thy law. It is my meditation all the day. It is my meditation all the day. And I find myself doing this. You want to love the law. You want to love God. But we have been taught so many different things that it seems more like just rules and regulations to get to God as opposed to loving the law of God. And we can find here in Psalm 119:97, the writer is saying he has accomplished the love of the law. He says, oh, how love I thy law. It is my meditation all the day. So that means this person has basically forsaken all of the things that he feels might cause him to fall in separation or fall into disharmony with life, and he meditates on the law of God all the day. Now, I find myself doing the same thing. For instance, just today, I pulled out in front of a vehicle that I know was a good 75, 80 yards away. It was an 18-wheeler. And sometimes you can just feel that people just don't like you getting in front of them. So he speeds up to get on my bumper. And when he gets on my bumper, instead of me doing what people normally do, I immediately went, the law of the Lord is in that truck. The law of the Lord is with me. And all I have to do is remain calm and understand that we're both at peace. And there is no need for me to hit my brakes suddenly or wave back at him, and there's no reason for him to ride my bumper. And in about 10 or 15, 20 seconds, I noticed that he had backed off, and then I came to a turn to where he had to go another way, and he was seen no more. This is the practice. We use it on everything. Now, we don't use it just to get through or around something. We use it because it is the law of life. And when we fall in love with it, we will find that we gravitate immediately to it when any situation comes up. We do not try to say, oh, I can take care of that. We immediately think of the law of the Lord, and we realize that we are meditating in it all the day long. The people who sat in darkness or in ignorance have seen a great light, a promise of deliverance. You know, when I thought about that's one of the scriptures that came to me as I was preparing this, and I said to myself, why does man do the things that he does? And I was looking at some program last night, and someone began to use spiritual jargon or spiritual language. And I noticed that the other people listening began to drop their eyes, turn their heads, wag their head. And I just realized this is just the way people feel about spirituality. Why do they feel that way? Why are people turned off when you begin to talk about God and spiritual things? Because if they do believe in Jesus Christ, they believe that he basically was the only one that could do the things that these people talk about, or there were a few other chosen ones that God chose to do these things, but surely not you. You can't stand in front of me and talk to me about miraculous things or extraordinary things happening because you're just a man. And then the other thing is I was think about if man came to the planet, why did he have to wait so long for medical theories to be discovered? And I began to look at our medical scene, and I realized we depend so much on what the doctor or the x-ray or the symptoms, we depend so much on them that when someone says, let the Lord do it, people are really turned off. Then I began to think, well, wait a minute. If there is a creative principle that is so intelligent that it sent this world into existence by principle, by law, why doesn't it take care of the things that it created? Surely, I, being a father, will take care of my children. I'll take care of my home. I'll take care of my cars. I listen. I listen to hear sounds that are not right so that I can take care of them. But this creative intelligence that sent us into expression seems to have just put us down here and said, suffer. Suffer it to be so. Then it hit me. Man has become so accustomed to listening to another man and looking at things and deriving at decisions based on what they see, hear, taste, touch, and smell, that they've pretty much relegated God to the sidelines. God is sitting on the bench until we need something done. But the people who sat in darkness, the people who sat in ignorance, why, Lord, have seen a great light. The light appeared. Why? Because they asked the question, why? And the promise of deliverance came up and said, come unto me, all you that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. So therefore, to attain this great promise, one has to become mindful of the directives involved, just like the directions that come with anything that we're going to accomplish. They must be accepted, adhered to, and in a sense, I'm going to use the word loved. You know how you felt when you first started getting amorous feelings for the relationship that you were going to enter into? You couldn't keep the person off your mind. Even though you had nothing to say, you wanted to just be in the presence of the person. You wanted to just be around them. A meaningful relationship. always on my mind. I'm thinking about you always. Even when you would pick up the phone and call the person, or they would call you, and the question would come out and say, "What are you doing?" You would say, "Oh, just sitting here thinking about you." This is what God has said to us. If you fall in love with me, I will never leave you. I will be with you. Then he issues a request. We set out on a journey with eyes opened in anticipation of receiving an imagined prize. I can remember when I first got what they said was saved. I remember my eyes are wide open. I thought the world had ended. I thought that I had found that which my heart just panted for, God, and now, buddy, it's on. Life became so happy and joyful, and I began to tell people all about this newfound love that I had found, and I couldn't understand why they didn't get excited as I. But I had been invited on a journey with my eyes opened, and I believed that I was going to attain a great prize. I still do. In man's spiritual journey, this great prize is called harmony. Harmony of life. What it actually is the salvation of that person's soul and the experience of the words righteousness. Man doesn't see it that way. He usually sees it as though he's going to be able now to attain great things. He's going to have money, going to have possessions, affluence, influence, clothing, vacations. He believes that by hooking up with God, this is what he's going to get. But he doesn't realize the journey is a journey to his soul's salvation. It's the journey to a person reaches a freedom unmatchable. I get glimpses of it. It's a freedom to where you realize you don't have to argue. You don't have to refute. You don't have to persuade. You just simply look at people and recognize that what you're looking at is the presence of God. That's all there is. When you allow your meditations to really, really open up, you'll realize that in the beginning was the Word. Whatever the beginning was, the Word was with God. The Word was God, meaning then that the Word filled all space. There was no place where this Word was not, so there was no endangerment at any time. And anything that comes after the Word is a derivative of the Word, meaning that it is an outward expression. Like I tell people a lot of times now, we must understand that the teacher has all of the information in their head. And when they go to the blackboard, they write it on the blackboard to share with the students. So then the head of the teacher, or the knowledge in the head of the teacher, is heaven, and the blackboard is earth, the expression. Now we need to understand then that we are the temple of God, and being the temple of God, that means heaven is bound up within us, and as we loose it, it expresses itself in the earth. This right here should take away a lot of the problems that we have with people now. Because if heaven is our consciousness and the earth scene of hear, see, taste, touch, and smell is the earth or the blackboard, then one thing we can readily realize is that all that we're ever looking at is what each person is creating as their world, including ourselves. What we have to do is not become a part of their expression. There's nothing wrong with observing their expression, but getting involved in their expression means then that we become a part of their creation, thereby we are creating their expression. It's sort of like what Joel Goldsmith talks about, that if a person were to hypnotize you and then tell you that that plant in the hypnosis has snakes instead of branches, well, immediately, if you accept that as hypnotism, your knowledge of what to do about snakes is either flee or kill them, right? So therefore, if it's to kill them, just think what would happen. You would try to kill them, and as quickly as you would kill them, they would reappear because you're still hypnotized. And being hypnotized, you can't get out, you can't get rid of the snakes until you are dehypnotized. So therefore, what did you do? You accepted what someone told you. And once you accept it, you become controlled by that person. Oh, you have 6 months to live. If you accept that, what are you negating? You are negating the life-giving substance called God that actually is life eternal, that is never in danger of losing itself as life, has the properties of giving life, only has no darkness, cannot give death, and if something appears to be dead, can raise it to life. We have negated all of that by accepting the fact that a man over here told us that this is going to kill you. This is going to put you in a wheelchair. This is going to bring poverty to you. And how many times have we seen in the scriptures loved ones brought back to life, given financial blessing, given life, giving clothing, and all kinds of things, simply because they became dehypnotized. The Word of God is pure and able to cleanse one of all unrighteousness. That must be a meditation, and the meditation must open up to reveal why is a word able to purify and cleanse me. Because that word is alive. That word is God. I was speaking with someone just yesterday, and they were talking about, I can't wait to go to heaven and whatnot. And I said, well, can I ask you a question? They said, yeah. I said, we're going to talk about locality, specific locality. Where does God live? And they said, in heaven. And I said, and where else is God located? They said, in me. I said, so God is always in heaven, and God is in you. And the person said, oh, wow. There's no place for me to go if I'm already there, right? I said, right. Now, if you meditate on that, that will open up and will reveal to you other blessings that you are carrying around, but you are trying to find them because someone told you. But in actuality, if God is living in you and God lives in the temple, then man is the temple of God. And the person went, oh, my goodness, when you make it that simple. I said, well, he said it was simple enough for a little child to understand it. Why do we make it so complicated? Why do we feel you have to be Baptist to get there? Episcopalian, Methodist, Mormon, Jehovah's Witness. Why do we feel you have to be that when he said all you have to do is to seek the Lord according to his directives, love them all the day long and meditate on them, and that great light will expand and you will become full of light. And that word light is full of Jesus Christ, which is the only begotten of the Father, and the Father withholdeth nothing from Jesus Christ, and therefore sent Jesus Christ to us that we might be full of light, full of the Jesus Christ, that we might experience that which is just payloads greater than we ever thought. Therefore, we set out on a journey with our heart holding fast to the directives and the pupil of our eyes fixed solely on them. Now, if you will stop and listen to what I just said, you will see all of the issues that come against you in any given day, and your conscious decision is to hold fast to the directives that were given you, and your pupil, or the pupil of your eye, to be fixed solely on them. You say, but what if it doesn't work? Then you do not believe the directives, because you have no other power than the power of your conscious belief. But that's the only power that you need. You will not need to raise your hand. You will not need to fight. Put down your weapon. In this particular case, your weapon would be your tongue. And if you are so moved, then you might go buy a gun or go buy a guard dog or whatever. But what did he say? I am your Father. I am with you always. You will not need to fight in this battle, for I am the Lord. I will fight for you. You see, oh Lord, you are always on my mind. When I did not know what to do about that truck, that 18-wheeler, you look in your rearview mirror, and he looks like he's about 6 inches off, or you know he's a little bit further back, but he looks like he's about 6 inches off your bumper. And what are you going to do? I have a way of escape. There is no temptation which is not common to man. See? You're going to be tempted. You're going to be tempted every day. But will you turn to the law, the directive? Will you turn and put your trust there and accept the fact that God has said, I will stand between you and the waters. I will walk with you when you go through the floods. When you pass through the fire, I will with you. I must keep my conscious mind on that word, not on what I'm going to do. I can just look at that person and just turn away and say, and yet I love you with the love of the Lord. Why? Because what am I doing? I'm being purified. The word is taking over. We are directed to arise with one goal in mind. Go in and possess the land of promise. I can remember as a young man when I heard that, oh, man, it was like, man, I'm getting ready to go out here and make all kinds of money. Ain't nobody going to mess with me, because the moment they say something to me, I'm going to put the God dogs on them. I'm going to have them running. I'm going to have them scared of me. And the scriptures even says I will put the dread of you in their hearts. They want, and I found out that's not the land. Why? Because the earth is the blackboard. Are you feeling me now? The earth is the blackboard of the land possessed. So where then is the land possessed for me to see it here in the earth? In my conscience. That's the land that we set out to possess. That's the land of promise. And to do so, we must reverence the Lord, walk in his ways, to love and to serve him with all our heart and with all our soul. There are many, many obstacles that must be overcome, and to the mind must be fixed. And the mind must be fixed and obedient. The Lord must be recognized as God of gods and Lord of lords, great and mighty, never partial, cleaved to and sworn by. Oh, my goodness. Can I do that while I live in a land that is so ugly? He says you could. He says, I'm inviting you. And here's the thing. It looks like when he says go in and possess the land, it looks like he's saying go out here and just stomp on your enemy. No, he's saying come unto me. Come unto the awareness of who I am. And once you get there, that is the land that is going to be possessed. It's the land of the soul. Listen at this. Deuteronomy chapter 12, verse 2 through 5. Deuteronomy chapter 12, verses 2 through 5. You must destroy all the places wherein the nations whom you are to possess worshiped, and all their gods upon high mountains and upon the hills and under every green tree. And you shall tear down their altars and break their statues and burn their graven images with fire and break the graven images of their gods and destroy the names of them out of all place, out of that place. You shall not do so to the Lord your God, but to the place which the Lord your God shall choose out of all your tribes to put his name there. His habitation shall you seek, and thither you shall go. My. I can see why reading these scriptures in a church setting makes you think that you're going to be like a people called the Israelites that are going to start going through the land, and they're just going to start destroying all of the evil peoples that stand in their way. And as they destroy them, they're going to destroy all of the things that these people worshiped, all of the altars that they worshiped, that they knelt by, all of the gods that they honored. When in actuality, all these things exist in us. All these nations exist in us. We have high places in us. There are places of what? Poverty, hatred, racism, greediness, lasciviousness, you name it. Oh, this has been handed down from generation to generation. Oh, we couldn't, no, there's no way we're going to stop doing this. We must honor this. We must honor that. And God is saying, I'm inviting you to come into your soul and rid your soul of all of these things that would keep you from possessing. We must be able to define and meditate and learn the stories that are within the stories in the Bible. The stories are there, but there are lessons embedded within those stories that lead us to that which is higher than we have assumed. There is no power greater than God. If you notice, it says, you shall destroy all of the representative factions and representative symbols of the peoples of these lands. And if you're careful, you'll read further in the scriptures where it says, and the Israelites did not destroy this, and they did not destroy that, or the king did not tear down this altar, or he did not. And it's showing you that not so much that they were not able to, they didn't want to. Because if you're going to follow God, it says, oh, how love I thy law. It is my meditation all the day. In it, am I consciously aware? What am I going to do? I am going to try my best to not get involved with anything that would separate me or distract me from the law of God. Your spouse. When you think of your spouse, do you think of cheating on your spouse? No. Because if you do, you don't love that person. Oh, how love I that law. I think about all of the things that people do, and then they offer an excuse for them. And God is saying, loving me is like marriage. It's like a relationship. Can you imagine God looking at you saying, I never think about cheating on you? Whoa. Never? Never. The thought never enters my mind. Wow. Lord, can I love you like that? Can I love you like that? I heard someone say the other day that they wish that they had bought everything 600 feet above the ground, including the air. And I said, you're losing me. Why? He said, because everything moves on the ground and everything moves through the air. I'd be rich. I'd have everything. Get what I'm saying? And I before I knew it, I looked and said, no, I can't even entertain that thought. I can't even let a thought like that be it, that I'm going to be the only person that owns everything, and the whole world is going to bow to me because I own the air and I own the ground, and I said, no, I can't even think of that. And the scripture then popped in my head. What would it profit you to gain the world and lose your soul? You see, the land that we're being invited to possess is a place that you don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to go out here and find an enemy to overcome. You go in your conscience and you root them out. But I don't know how to root them out. Yes, you do. What? Oh, how love I thy law. It's my meditation all the day. You are always, what? My mind. All of these alien nations have to be rooted out of our conscience. Well, how'd they get there? Well, you got kidnapped. When you came here to the earth, you were told many things. And that was setting up all of these alien nations, because a man does not have wisdom. A man does not have foreknowledge. A man does not have prophecy. A man does not have resolution. A man does not have solution. All he can tell you is what he believes. And that may work this time, and it won't work next time. Oh, my goodness. So I should not be getting distracted by the things that man would tell me, right, because he doesn't know. Because if he knew, he would know from the day of Adam. Not be growing into these things as he says he is now. I'll fight against so-and-so will not end. Why is he still fighting to understand and looking down his nose at those who say, I'll just let the Lord handle it? As one loves the law of God only, all of the alien nations, all of their gods, all of the altars, all of the fears, all of the limits we have, all of the things that have been set up in us are being uprooted and cast out by a conscience belief in the Word. This is the way that we possess the land, that we might dwell safely therein forever. Thank you, Lord. You are always on my mind. God bless you.